While Connecticut may not be as widely recognized as states like Washington, Arizona, Michigan, California, or Texas, it holds a distinct charm and significance. Covering just 14,357 square kilometers, Connecticut is the fourth most densely populated state with over 3 million residents. Known as the Constitution State, it is celebrated for its vibrant autumn foliage, rich cultural heritage, manufacturing industry, Yale University, and as the home of ESPN, the world's premier sports network. The state capital, Hartford, is often referred to as the insurance capital of the world, thanks to its concentration of major insurance companies. The largest and most populous city, however, is Bridgeport. Other notable cities include Stamford, Waterbury, and New Haven, the latter being not only the location of Yale University, but also the birthplace of George W. Bush, the 43rd President of the United States. Connecticut ranks 6th among the happiest states in terms of emotional and physical well-being, boasts one of the lowest poverty rates in the nation, and is ranked 3rd highest in education. Its unique blend of natural beauty, historical significance, and quality of life makes it a standout among U.S. states. Though Connecticut shines as an advanced and prosperous state, performing well on the Human Development Index and Income Matrices, it struggles with significant disparities, particularly inequality. Among its most pressing issues is the rising number of homeless individuals, a challenge that has worsened over the past 3 years. According to the point-in-time count, a snapshot of homelessness on a single night in January 2024, 3,410 people were experiencing homelessness, an increase of 13% from the 3,015 recorded in 2023. The situation is particularly heartbreaking for vulnerable groups. Approximately 700 children under 18 were among the homeless population. Nearly 800 people aged 55 and older, many of whom are steady earners, lost their homes due to soaring rental costs. The issue of racial disparity is also glaring. 68% of Connecticut's homeless population are people of color, with the majority being Black residents, highlighting systemic inequities in housing and economic opportunities. While homelessness is often stereotyped as being linked to laziness, substance abuse, or severe mental illness, the reality is more nuanced. An estimated 40–50% of Connecticut's homeless population earns income from Social Security benefits or employment. However, stagnant wages and fixed incomes cannot keep up with rising housing costs, let alone the purchase of an apartment. Inflation and unaffordable housing remain the leading drivers of this troubling trend. With limited options, many homeless individuals are left to survive in harsh conditions. Amid the fast-paced life in Connecticut's urban centers, those less fortunate resort to sleeping on the streets, in their cars, or constructing makeshift shelters out of tents and cardboard. New Haven, one of the state's key cities, has even earned the nickname Tent City due to the proliferation of homeless encampments. Despite efforts by authorities to dismantle these settlements, most homeless individuals rely on shelters, which are often overcrowded with insufficient beds and require extended stays. In April 2024, Connecticut's Attorney General announced an investigation into alleged price gouging practices by grocery store S. Authorities revealed that the inquiry focuses on food and essential goods sold in state-owned supermarkets, aiming to determine whether prices of basic necessities are excessively high, exploitative, and in violation of the law. This case is just one example highlighting the broader issue of Connecticut's high cost of living. According to the Cost of Living Index published by the Council for Community and Economic Research, Connecticut ranks as one of the most expensive states in the U.S. to live in. Its cost of living index is 121. 6, significantly above the national average of 100, meaning living costs in Connecticut are approximately 21.6% higher than the U.S. average. This ranking is driven by factors such as housing, transportation, healthcare expenses, and other basic necessities. Housing is one of the primary contributors to the state's high cost of living. Connecticut's housing costs rank among the highest in the country, with home prices far exceeding the national average by nearly 35%, particularly in urban centers and desirable neighborhoods. According to Zillow's Observed Rent Index, average rent in Connecticut increased by 8.5% from 2023 to 2024. Food prices are another burden, sitting 6.4% higher than the national average, making it challenging for residents with standard incomes to afford nutritious, reasonably priced meals. The challenges of rising homelessness, housing costs, and basic living expenses are further exacerbated by an alarming surge in drug-related deaths. Overdose fatalities, particularly those involving opioids like heroin and fentanyl, remain a significant crisis nationwide, and Connecticut is no exception. In 2022 alone, more than 1,550 deaths were attributed to overdoses in the state, marking a staggering 306% increase since 2012. Despite numerous efforts, including initiatives like the Connecticut Opioid Response Initiative, the drug crisis persists and even worsens. A major concern is the increasing prevalence of synthetic opioids like fentanyl being mixed with other drugs, such as illegal stimulants and benzodiazepines. These combinations often go undetected by users, dramatically raising the risk of unintentional fatal overdoses. By 2023, fentanyl was implicated in 84% of overdose deaths in Connecticut. The homeless population is among the most vulnerable groups affected by this crisis. At the same time, addiction often results from homelessness itself. The harsh realities of living on the streets, struggling with poor health, scavenging for food, and enduring constant rejection from loved ones create severe stress that can lead to substance use as a coping mechanism. Homeless individuals frequently develop mental health conditions in response to their circumstances, marked by persistent feelings of threat from violence, hunger, and the absence of shelter and compassion. In October 2024, police in Bristol arrested 2 men at a storefront suspected of operating a prostitution ring disguised as a business called Aqua After Dark. The Bristol Police Department's Narcotics Enforcement Team, in collaboration with the Connecticut Statewide Organized Crime Task Force, had been investigating the location since January 2024 after receiving tips from concerned community members. The 2 men were charged with conspiracy to commit human trafficking and promoting prostitution. Although the law is clear, prostitution is punishable as a Class A misdemeanor with penalties of up to 1 year in prison and a $2,000 fine. Illegal sex work remains prevalent in several cities across Connecticut. Many operations disguise themselves as legitimate businesses, including nightclubs, spas, and massage parlors. Locations in Stamford, Norwalk, Wilton, and Fairfield are frequent targets of prostitution enforcement operations. Connecticut authorities have been making prostitution-related arrests since at least 1985. Over the decades, more than 21,600 arrests have been documented on charges linked to prostitution. Historically, prostitution flourished in Hartford during the 19th century, much like in other U.S. cities. Its rise and fall have been influenced by shifts in moral attitudes and economic conditions. Social reformers have attempted various measures to eradicate brothels from Hartford, but none succeeded in addressing the root causes of the issue. Today, while formal brothels no longer exist, illegal sex work continues to thrive, particularly in major cities across the state. Racism remains a persistent and troubling issue in Connecticut, reflecting a darker side of the state's identity. This problem existed long before the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer, which sparked a national movement against racial injustice. By 2021, 20 cities in Connecticut had already declared racism a public health crisis. Despite Connecticut's reputation as a progressive and prosperous state with a high human development index, it is clear that more work is needed to achieve true racial equity. Racism is just one facet of broader criminal activity. Violent crime in Connecticut has also been a concern, with incidents rising compared to previous years. According to data from the FBI, there were 6,519 victims of violent crime reported in Connecticut between January and December 2022. These crimes included murder, manslaughter, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated assault, simple assault, and intimidation. However, Connecticut stands out positively in one respect. It has the third lowest violent crime rate in the United States, with 150 incidents per 100,000 people compared to the national average. This low rate suggests that while violent crime and systemic racism are ongoing challenges, Connecticut remains one of the safer states in the country in terms of overall violent crime statistics. Nonetheless, these issues highlight the paradox between the state's prosperity and its ongoing struggles with inequality and public safety.